Welcome to Horror Bois. It's a podcast on the internet. I'm Austin, joined as always by
Chris.
And we are the Horror Bois. And this isn't any old podcast on this old internet. No, my friends. No. This is a horror movie review podcast. That's the only time I'm going to do it, I promise, guys. But yeah, we watch movies every week and we talk about them. Today we're talking about Idle Hands.
Yeah.
We're finishing up our Devon SAWA-rc today.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's talk about the movie.
Let's do it.
The movie was directed by Rodman Flender of The Unborn, Leprechaun 2, and Eat Brains, Love. It's like a Eat, Laugh, Love joke. That was alongside Horror Bois alums Laura Grice of The Final Destination and Sarah Yarkin of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Our writers were Terry Hughes and Ron Millbauer. Or Milbauer, sorry, I put an extra A in there that's not there. Sorry, Ron. Our composer is Horror Bois alum. I'm trying to remember how to pronounce his name. Graham Revell? Go with that. Freddy vs. Jason, Child's Play 2, and Bride of Chucky. So, he's a seasoned vet here on Horror Bois.
Yeah, apparently.
Our director of photography is Christopher Baffa of Piranha the 95 TV remake, Kim Possible 2019, the live-action movie, and next Friday alongside Horror Bois alum Tom Tiny Lister Jr. of Santa's Sleigh. Our production designer is Greg Melton of Children of the Corn 2, My Name is Earl, The Mist, Walking Dead, and Freddy's Nightmares, alongside Horror Bois alum Robert Englund of Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, Wishmaster, and Hatchet. He's the Freddy of the Freddy's Nightmares.
Oh.
Whoa. Our special makeup effects producer is Keith Vanderlyn of Crywolf, Van Helsing, The Mask, Son of the Mask, Blade, Thinner, Jingle All the Way, and Alien 3.
I love how Jingle All the Way is tied into so many movies.
Wow. Makeup effects. Sorry, I also have I also want to bring up the two studios because they were mentioned as by name. Such he was the producer, but other people who worked on it were people who worked for Canum Creations and Captive Audience Productions. Our special effects coordinator was Lou Carlucci of Killer Clowns from Outer Space, Tales from the Hood, Blade, Tremors 4, Transformers 4, Batman v Superman, and is a Horror Bois alum for his work on Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th 7, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, New Nightmare, and Hatchet.
But just a few things.
Yeah, but I've never mentioned his name before because we just recently started giving respect to the special effects coordinators.
Yeah. Oopsies.
Yeah, oopsie. The stunt coordinator is Chuck Pacerny Jr. of Lost Boys.
No,
not Juck. It's Chuck. My bad, guys. Chuck Pacerny Jr. of Lost Boys, They Live, Predator 2, Children of the Corn 5, Hunt for Red October, and is also a Horror Bois alum for his work on Jason Goes to Hell. But terrible movie. But the one thing I will say, I don't remember the stunts being bad, so
True. Just like everything else.
The makeup effects were good.
Yeah,
the effect. Honestly, all of the effects were relatively well done. It was just everything else about that movie.
Yeah, the plot.
Yeah, most of the acting.
The writing, the acting, yeah.
Also, our digital visual effects and 3D animation was done by VCE. What does that stand for? I don't know. I didn't look it up. I just saw the word and wrote it down.
Stands for VCE.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Look at that. That's what's on the page. All right, let's talk about the movie. Woo! Movie.
I like movie.
Yeah. Well,
I do also like this movie.
Chris, you're supposed to wait till the end.
No, I've ruined it.
All right, Darth Vader.
Hell, bit, huh?
Yeah. We open with our title card and then transition into the credits, which are fine, if not a little nauseating, but it does have a great, fun, creepy rock song that plays over them. I really liked the song that our composer, Mr. trying to find his name on the page right in front of me, Ravel, which makes sense because he does his composing in Child's Play 2 and Bride of Chucky were also great. So I'm not at all surprised, but it's great here. The actual, credits themselves, but his song, pretty cool. We transition. That's a new word I'm making up. We transition out of the credits into a bedroom where we meet Mr. and Mrs. Tobias. Mr. Tobias is played by the late Fred Willard of Spinal Tap, Waiting for Guffman, Best in Show, A Mighty Wind, Anchorman 1 and 2, Salem's Lot, and Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me, alongside Horror Boy alums Heather Graham of Scream 2, Vern Troyer of Wishmaster, and David Koechner of Final Destination 5. Also, I will just point out, I only bring up one movie that people have Horror Boy alums in. Every other movie he did also had at least one Horror Boy alum in it. That one just had the most, so I went with that. Our next is Mrs. Tobias, who is played by Connie Ray of Ice Princess. Kim Possible, I believe also 2019. I didn't write, but I'm pretty sure that's what it was. But it might have been the actual show. I honestly don't remember. And Stuart Little alongside Horror Boy alum Jennifer Tilly of Bride of Chucky through Chucky Season 2.
Yeah.
She was only on, I don't know, 1, 2, 4, 12 episodes of the podcast.
Yeah. Doesn't come on here super frequent.
Yeah, she's not very common that we talk about Jennifer Tilly. They're about to go to sleep when Mrs. Tobias notices the words, "I'm under the bed," written on the ceiling.
Yeah, causes her to scream very loudly.
She does,
understandably
yes.
so.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Mr. Tobias checks under the bed, but finds nothing, so he chalks it up, as a prank by their son, Anton.
Yeah.
She doesn't think that's possible, because Anton's a good boy. And he points out that actually he's just a good-for-nothing stoner. But, whatever. They hear something break in the distance. Mr. Tobias tries to blame the cat, but Mrs. Tobias makes him go investigate. Mrs. Tobias hears a lot of creaking before being spooked by the cat, whose name is Bones.
Hi, Bones.
Yeah, hi, Bones. She then hears clattering and the sounds of Mr. Tobias struggling. She gets up to go check on him. She stops to try and get Anton from the attic, but hears more clattering, so she continues to head downstairs. She slips on his blood and runs back upstairs to her room, where she is about to call 911 when she's pulled under the bed and killed by it squishing her with a splatter of blood spraying out before we pan up to the "I'm under the bed" on the ceiling.
Bum, bum.
Bum, bum.
It wasn't a prank after all.
No, this is a YouTube prank. Oh, it's just a prank, bro. I didn't mean to kill him. It was just a prank. It was for YouTube. Doesn't count. Yeah, social experiment. Doesn't count. We cut to our slacker stoner protagonist, Anton, waking up. Anton is played by Horror Boy alum Devon Sawa of the Chucky TV series and Final Destination 1. And the reason we're covering this movie right now. I mean, because this is the Devon Sawa arc.
Or the Devon Sawa arc.
No, I don't like it.
Or won't.
We won't.
Yeah, that's valid.
It's not even officially Devon Sawa arc. It was the Chucky arc, then the Final Destination arc, and then the one-off episode on this. Yeah. But It's also the Devon Sawa arc in my heart.
Yeah, very loosely.
Yeah. Hey, he was in 10 of the 8 plus 8, 16 plus 5, 21, 22. He was in 10 of the 22 episodes in the Devon Sawa arc. So, yeah.
By that logic, it was more of the Jennifer Tilly arc than Devon Sawa arc. Oh.
Well, let's be real then. If we're reeling off that, it's the Brad Dourif arc, because he was in, the first 15 episodes of this arc, which is also why it's not really an arc. It was just we're covering another Devon Sawa movie because I wanted to, really. But that doesn't have as good of a ring to it.
Oh, yeah. No, that's valid.
So we'll stick with the Devon Sawa arc. It's a cool name I just came up with. All right. He heads downstairs, oblivious to the blood on the floor that Bones stops to lick. In the kitchen, Anton yells to his mom that they're out of milk for his cereal and dog food for the dog. He goes to the living room where he lights some incense and turns on the news. The news is covering that now 4 bodies have been found linked to a killer still at large. He starts to smoke some weed in his fake inhaler pipe. Apparently when I typed that, it corrected to enabler, so it's his fake enabler pipe.
Yeah. Stinking fake enabler.
Yeah. And he turns the TV to cartoons. I will bring up what cartoon was playing, because I think it was on purpose. Mr. Magoo is playing, which I think is a joke about Anton being blind to the situation around him. He runs out of weed and calls his friend, who tells him to come over to get some weed. He heads out, passing his acquaintance Randy, who's working on his truck listening to Shout at the Devil by Motley Crue. Randy is played by Jack Noseworthy of Event Horizon and Encino Man, alongside Horror Bois alum Rose McGowan of Scream. And also just a really fun movie. Not a movie that we could ever cover here because it is just straight up a comedy, but it's a really fun movie. I like Encino Man.
Fair.
And this is probably one of the only times I'll ever talk about Encino Man. So, Encino Man is fun. It's about Brendan. It's about let me tell you the plot of Encino Man real quick, real brief. So we have these 2 characters, one played by Sean Astin and the other one played by Pauly Shore. So the best cast of all time. And they find a caveman in their backyard and thaw him out, and he's played by Brendan Fraser. And then hijinks ensue.
I see.
It's really I like it. It's a fun movie. Anton enters his friend Pnub. That's right, Pnub. That is his name. He enters his friend Pnub's house through the basement window. Inside, we meet his friends Pnub and Mick. Pnub is played by Eldon Henson of Mighty Ducks 2 and 3, The Butterfly Effect, Netflix Daredevil, and, would you guess it, Chris? He's also in She's All That. Alongside Horror Bois alums Anna Paquin, Usher, Clea Duvall, Tim Matheson, the late Alexis Arquette, the late Debbie Lee Carrington, Sarah Christine Smith, and National Treasure Matthew Lillard.
Yay.
I starting with this episode, I made a different Google Doc that is just the so far Horror Bois alum cast, so I don't have to look it up every time when I see someone's in She's All That. I can just copy it over. Because there's so many Horror Bois alums in She's All That. We're going to have to do like a special April Fool's Day special where we cover She's All That.
Cover She's All That? Yeah. Tracks.
It'll have to be a point once where we're like, doing, I don't know, I'm sorry, like making money off this, because, it'll probably have to be a bonus episode, because, it's not a horror movie.
Yeah, sure isn't.
Next we have Mick, who is played by Seth Green of Ticks, the Austin Powers movie, Robot Chicken, Family Guy, and the It miniseries, alongside Horror Bois alums John Ritter of Bride of Chucky, Olivia Hussey of Black Christmas, Chalon Simmons of Final Destination 3, and Laura Harris of The Faculty. I feel like I'm forgetting something important. Well, anyway, Anton asks, oh yeah, Seth Green is also from Season 2, Episode 4, Inca Mummy Girl, to Season 4, Episode 22, Restless, where he played Oz in 40 episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Oz was the guitarist of the band Dingoes Ate My Baby, dated Willow, and became a werewolf. Normally I, tell you just about the what episode someone's in, but for him I had to just tell you a brief description of Oz's story. Because he was actually just a main character for like 3 seasons.
Yeah.
So Anton asks Penub. I hate that name. I'm going to keep saying it because, it's his name and I have to say it, but it's such a weird name and to have to it wasn't even that big a deal when I had to write it. I was like, oh yeah, Penub. But now when I'm having to say Penub over and over again, I'm getting mad.
It does sound absurd.
So Anton asks Penub to pass the chronic, but Penub tells him he's actually out and then, makes a crude joke. Because this is a stoner comedy. Woo! Which actually I do think it lands for the most part, but yeah. I'm not going to repeat all the jokes because some of them are a little too inappropriate for this podcast.
Yeah.
He grabs his balls, everyone.
He does.
Penub tells Anton that he heard if you combine nutmeg and oregano, you can get pretty wasted. Mick says, all you do is smoke pot and watch TV all day. Now, don't get me wrong, that's what life is all about. But don't you think you should have some ambition, like a goal? Anton replies, yeah, I mean, my dream life would be to lie around all day and watch TV with some hot broad, while some hot broad delivers me food and poop. He definitely says poop. But now I have to clarify that he meant in the sense of, brings him food and poop, not also one of the things he wants to do is poop. I could see the confusion with the way I worded it there.
Yeah.
But that
food and stuff.
Yeah, food and stuff. But, whenever someone says that word, I say poop because I think that's funnier than just cutting it out. But it led to a slightly confusing sentence there, as I realized.
I just want a girl who'll bring me food and also her poop.
Whoa, no, that's not what I thought he meant. I thought he was just adding and pooping to his list of things he wanted in his dream life.
Oh, okay.
No. Dude, I did it again. I said I wouldn't. People are going to hate us.
Yeah.
Where did I lose my place? Yeah, and poop. There we are. Penub, gosh, I hate it, says until your parents kick your oily butt out. Definitely says butt. Anton says, I haven't seen my parents in a couple of days. Penub says, maybe they're dead. Party at Anton's. Mickey says, what are you doing? Penub continues, I'm just saying, with a killer loose, you can't rule out murder. Anton says, what killer? Penub replies, don't you watch the news? Anton says, he hates that show. Mick says, oh man, our little town is in the national spotlight. Local mailman, iced. Barmaid at the bowling alley, iced. And don't tell me you haven't heard about the Feldstein twins. Anton makes a crude joke that I won't repeat. Penub says, iced times 2. Last night, when they were working the drive-thru at the Burger Jungle, Anton... At the Burger Jungle. Then Anton goes over to the window to watch his crush Molly drive by on her motorcycle. Molly is played by Jessica Alba of Sin City 1 and 2, Fantastic Four 1 and 2, as well as the problematic, never-before-seen Kissed alongside Horror Boy alums Sean Whalen of Hatchet 3, Marley Shelton of Screams 4 and 5, Drew Barrymore of Scream, and David Arquette of Scream 1 through 5. And also, I'll bring it up here, because I don't want to harp on it throughout the whole movie, but the actress, Jessica Alba, at the time, was only 17, and this movie decides to really, sexualize her, and that's not cool.
Yeah.
So, I'm addressing it here. I think I do have it once, way later in my notes, so I'll probably read it again there, forgetting that I said it here. But yeah, I won't harp on it too much, but it's one of the flaws of this movie, for sure, is that it's awkward when you know that she's only 17. It's just creepy. Don't know why they put her in that situation. So yeah, we'll move on now. Mick tells Anton he should go ask Molly to the Halloween dance. Anton sees that Molly dropped her book of song lyrics, so he borrows a pair of Penub's pants and goes to return it to her. When Anton gets to Molly's door, he chickens out and starts to turn away when Molly opens the door. He gives the book to her aggressively and leaves without saying a word while she tries to thank him and talk to him. That's that scene.
Yeah.
We cut to a jail in Utah where a nun named Debbie LeCour is disappointed when the hand of a prisoner she was there to see is shriveled up. Outside, we find out she's not actually a nun, but a druidic priestess in search of something that's missing. Debbie is played by Vivica A. Fox of Batman and Robin, Sharknado 2, Kill Bill 1 and 2, Independence Day 1 and 2, and the Horror Boy alum Kevin Williamson written and directed Teaching Miss Tingle.
Hot dog.
Yeah. In her Airstream van, she sees that the killings she's been tracking make the points of a pentagram, kind of, if you really squint.
Yeah, if you really squint.
Yeah, it's a little contrived, but who cares? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. So she heads quickly to Bowling, California, where the rest of the movie takes place. We cut to Anton, who's coming home from the store in a very foggy alleyway. He's shoved to the ground by two cops, McMacy and Ruck, who were seniors when he was a freshman. Officer McMacy is played by Horror Boy alum Sean Whalen of Hatchet 3. Officer Ruck is played by Nicholas Sadler of Twister, Sometimes They Come Back, Hellraiser 5, and The Bye-Bye Man, alongside Horror Boy alums Douglas Smith of Santa's Sleigh, Doug Jones of Jack Frost 2, Revenge of the Mutant Killer Snowman, and makeup effects producer Robert Kurtzman of Jason Goes to Hell, Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and 5, New Nightmare, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3D, The Faculty, Wishmaster 3, and Scream.
Good.
He was also a founding member of K&B Studios, which is why he did all that, but, he's not in everything that we've covered that K&B's done because he eventually left for whatever reason. I don't know, none of my business. So the cops are mad at Anton for never asking them to get high with him in high school, so they search him and find an empty weed bag in his jeans. He reminds them that he can't be arrested for an empty baggie, so they drop it in the ground and give him a ticket for littering with a maximum fine of $200. Which is illegal, what they did there.
Yeah, just a little bit.
But when there's two cops there and just one guy who's not a cop, who are they going to believe? Probably the cops. Because this is set in 99, like cams. They weren't wearing cameras yet, so.
Yeah, pre-body cam.
Yeah, pre-body cam. That's the word I was looking for. My brain only thought of dash cam. I knew that wasn't what I wanted. It's like, no, that's on a car. What is it? I'll just call it cams. We transition from a shot of the ticket on the ground to a shot of it on the coffee table. I thought it was really just a cool artistic shot. He rips the ticket in half and uses it as a rolling paper for his nutmeg and oregano concoction. He lights it up and runs to the kitchen to wash his mouth out from how bad it tastes. He then makes a sandwich while being so distracted by the TV that he doesn't realize until after he took a bite that the knife was covered in blood. Ah!
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, it actually is like a cool moment where, because this movie, I think, does a really good job of balancing the horror and the comedy. There are moments that are straight up just comedy, and then there's moments where they tune the music up, and you're like, oh, okay, this is a horror moment, and when the scarier stuff happens, Nothing scared me, but that's most horror movies. He starts to freak out, thinking that the killer is in his house. He sees Bones batting around and licking an eyeball. He then arms himself with an umbrella and grabs his dog Duke, who doesn't want to follow him. He gets spooked by the shadow of a person at his door and runs upstairs and hides in his parents' bedroom. The person at the door, I think later the implication would be that it's probably one of his friends, but the actual person who was there when they filmed it was the director.
Oh.
He played the shadow.
Interesting.
Yeah. So yeah, he's upstairs in the bedroom. When he sees the message on the ceiling, he runs back downstairs, trips on the umbrella, falling into Jackland versions of the painting American Gothic, which had been there in a couple other shots. It just didn't feel the need to bring them up until right now. Revealing that his parents' corpses, though, had been hidden there. What? Ah!
Yeah.
Anton runs outside and pukes in his front yard, which, fair. I think that's a fair reaction.
Yeah.
He gets spooked by Penub and Mick showing up behind him. He brings them in to show them he's found his parents dead, but they're immediately distracted by the music video playing on the TV.
Yeah.
Anton turns off the TV so Mick and Penub will actually look over and see his dead parents. Mick sees that Mrs. Tobias is holding on a piece of a ripped shirt that matches the ripped shirt Anton is wearing. That plus the word "aunt" written in blood on the floor, and the 2 severed ears that fell out of a Burger Jungle bag that belonged to the Feldstein twins, makes Anton realize somehow he's the killer.
Bum, bum, bum. How's that possible?
Yeah, how is that possible? Mick goes to the kitchen to call 911 while Penub smokes some weed to calm down. Anton stops Mick from telling the police that what happened by ripping the phone out of the wall. Mick backs away from him, opening the fridge door to separate them. Mick tries to offer Anton a beer. Anton declines, breaking the bottle. We cut back to the living room as we hear Mick scream. Mick then comes in with the bottle stuck in his head and falls over dead. In a way that's definitely completely unrealistic in real life, but it looks cool, so who cares? There's a skull there. He's not getting through that skull, and if he didn't get through the skull, that's not enough to actually kill a guy. Like, it would be a small cut, really. But who cares? It's cool. It's a cool effect, so I don't care. Penub says he's going to leave, and Anton agrees that that's a good idea, but his hand raises into the air like it's moving on its own, which, spoiler, it is, and pulls Anton over to the door, closing it so Penub can't leave. I almost just call him Nub, but that's not his name. His name is Penub. Penub runs away, going into the basement. Anton, led by his hand, follows him down. Anton struggles to stop his hand from hurting Penub and tells him to leave because he doesn't want to hurt him. Oh, that's nice. And then the movie ends because he doesn't want to hurt anyone, and, he did hurt Mick and his parents, but, it ends happily. Wait.
Silly Austin.
Well, that's where I stopped watching the movie, so I don't have any more notes.
Oh, okay. Alright, I guess that's the episode, guys.
Yeah, sorry. That's where I stopped. I think that's where it ends. But while Penub is going up the stairs to leave, Anton's hand grabs a saw blade and throws it at Penub, decapitating him in some surprisingly decent visual effects for a 1999 movie. Like, It doesn't look perfect, but in comparison to, Final Destination that came out 10 years later, this somehow has better digital effects.
Don't worry. There will be slips in the crack later on in the movie.
I don't remember that, so you'll have to point it out when it happens.
I guess it's yeah. There's some interesting things that they do with something. We'll talk about it later.
Yeah, I'll have to wait for you because I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Penub is dead in a surprisingly decent kill for the way they had to do it in the 90s, but it still worked. I'm surprised, genuinely. Genuinely, claps to them that they were able to pull it off so well. Credit to, it was VCE, whatever that stands for. I mean, I understand how they did it. It's like green screen, but no one else does it as well when the same kind of shots. They end up doing too much or something. I don't know. This works, and it's surprised me. So I wanted to give it credit. Because we crap on so much of the CGI, because normally it sucks.
Yeah, it does normally.
And, you can tell this isn't real, but it still looks so much better, which is I just really shocked me. Final Destination... One last thing. The Foundation 5. When the main character gets cut in half, it looks less realistic than this, but that movie came out 12 years later.
Yeah.
Yes, there are flaws here. It's not perfect. But it's still, in comparison to that 12 years later, it's better. And that... I don't know if that's a compliment to VCE or just a damning indictment of all the other studios that worked on Final Destination. Sorry, I don't know which one it is.
Could be either.
It could be a little bit of both. Column A, column B.
Could be. Might be.
Yeah. Anton sits down on the couch to try and process what's happening. His hand grabs the remote and turns on the Creepy Hand channel.
Yeah, the one we all have on our TVs.
I mean, I assume they just like took shots of other things to make it work for this scene, but it's like, what? The Creepy Hand channel? Anton tries to switch it to cartoons, but the hand switches it back, and they fight back and forth. Bones gets on the couch with him, and his hand ends up throwing Bones, flying out the window and landing in a bush. He goes out looking for Bones. He ends up rooting through the bushes of Molly's house, but his hand pulls him over to the doorbell, ringing it. He has to kick off the door to get his hand to stop ringing the bell, sending him back over her patio's railing into the bush. Molly comes to the door and asks, "Aren't you a little old for Ding Dong Ditch?" He apologizes for falling into her bush and then explains that he was out looking for his cat, and that's why he's covered in blood, because his cat scratched him up. You know, believable story. It all makes sense to me. The amount of blood on him came from a fight with a cat that didn't leave him lying in pain.
Yeah.
Totally believable. I
understand.
He tells her he shouldn't be there because he's not himself today. She replies, "You're so shy. It's okay. I get it. So why don't we just skip the chickening out, sneaking around stage?" Which, I'll pause here real quick. It gets worse in like this is not how any humans ever reacted. Like, they don't know each other.
No,
that's established
this
earlier.
Is not how people communicate when they.
I want to make sure that any impressionable young boys who watch this movie knows this is not how to act in any of this situation. This will never happen.
Yeah.
So just live your life, okay, guys? It's not going to happen like this. I'm sorry. This has about as much, This only happens in this movie and harmonica videos.
Yeah.
He says, "No, you don't understand. I'm but his hand blocks his mouth. She asks him if he wants to come inside and talk. He tries to say no under his hand, but his hand pulls his head down to nod. She takes him to her bedroom and says, "You never gave me a chance to thank you earlier. That book is really important to me." Anton says, nothing cooler than a chick bass guitar player, especially one that writes her own lyrics." She angrily says, "You read them?" Anton replies, I couldn't help looking in the book. They're amazing, Look, I even got my favorites memorized. Devil girl with nothing to lose. She's got wind in her hair and gum on her shoes. So apparently Anton doesn't have a very good taste in music.
Yeah.
Which actually, I would argue that that's not true, because we see, him watching MTV, and he really seems to like a lot of these music videos that are a lot better than this. But he thinks this is lyrical genius. I think he might be thinking not with his brain.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
I think it's his hand's brain.
It's his hand, yeah.
His hand's thinking. Sorry. Lost my place. I couldn't help. Gum on her shoes. There we are. She laughs and says, "I was like 13 when I wrote that." And Anton says, "Oh, so last week." Nah, I'm kidding. He says, "Yeah, well, they're amazing." So he just straight up lies to her.
That's a good way to start a relationship.
Yeah, you just say. Well, to be fair, I actually think for some reason...
Foundation of lies.
I actually think for some reason he thinks those are good lyrics.
Yeah, no, that's probably true. Well, he is, a huge stoner.
Yeah, but they've proven that doesn't actually kill brain cells this way.
No. Yeah, that's true.
But this was written in 99, so at that point that hadn't been proven.
Yeah.
She says thanks and walks over to her dresser to put on some music. After stopping his hand from grabbing a sharp object, Anton says, "I should not be here, Molly." She replies, "Safer in here than on the streets. Don't you know there's a killer out there?" Anton says, "That's exactly what I'm saying. I'm dangerous." She says, "Oh yeah? How dangerous?" And then this funky music from the 70s starts playing. I think I watched the wrong Idle Hands.
Yeah, you might have.
No, I'm just kidding. I watched this one, and the dialogue feels like it's from the wrong Idle Hands.
Yeah, no, it does.
He says,
This
"I'm not."
whole scene feels like it is.
It's awkward. And you know what makes it even more just palatable?
17?
Is that she's a 17-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
He says, "I'm not kidding. I've done stuff, you know." Then his hand grabs her butt, and she, unlike any real human, likes it and is impressed that he didn't ask for consent and just did it.
Yeah. Again, do not use this as an example to act around real women in real life.
I mean, we'd only have like a very small audience, like it's like less than 1% of our audience that's even in the 18 to 22 demographic. So like, I hope that anyone who's listening to this knows, but just in case, this is not how to act. Gosh, this movie. In this scene specifically. Honestly, for the most part, spoiler, like Chris said earlier, I actually like this movie too. But there are some definite issues. But yeah, so she pushes him down in the bed and they start to make out. His hand keeps getting too aggressive, so he takes the sash from her robe and ties it up so they can continue making out. Yeah. Quick cut to Debbie driving recklessly to go kick Evil's butt. Back to Molly's room, where when she hears the garage door opens, tells Anton her parents are home, so they'll have to pick this up later. Baby snakes.
Yeah.
It's
certainly
cool.
Is a nickname.
Yeah, it's a weird pet name, and I'm sure it'll only be used once in this movie.
Well,
they make plans to go to the dance tomorrow. We cut to Anton's backyard, where he's burying his parents and friends. And honestly, like, I mean, this scene is shot very beautifully, and I'm going to read off everything he says, but it's actually kind of, like, sweet and well done. Like, there's, like, emotion in it. It's, like, a weird, like, juxtaposition from that last scene. There is still some humor in it, but, like, it's still... Yeah.
I will say, I do like the scene, because the whole time he's delivering it, he's also, like, still, like, twitching his hand around.
Oh, yeah.
And the little sling that he has.
He does some great hand acting in this movie.
He really does.
He does.
It's a weird thing to say, but like in every scene, even when it's like bound, he's got his hand like twitching and contorting.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's good.
It really adds to the atmosphere. I agree entirely. So yeah, in the backyard, and he gives them a quick eulogy, I guess. He's giving him like a little funeral of his own, basically. And he says, "Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today because you're all dead. And it's my fault. Mom, Dad, what can I say? I mean, you brought me into this world, you put a roof over my head, you fed me until I killed you. So I guess, if you look at it that way, I haven't been a good son. But I'm really, really, really sorry. And wherever you are, I just want you to forgive me, because I'm going to try to change." His hand tries to move, but he stops it and continues. "Mick, Penub, guys, you guys are the greatest. I mean, I'm never going to forget the way we sat around all day, watched TV, and got really stoned. And all those other times where we just... I guess that's all we did. Amen."
Yeah.
It's a good scene. Like, it's funny still, but it's also, like, heartwarming, which... It's good that this movie was able to balance those tones in a way that worked.
Yeah.
He then hears Mick moaning underground and begging Anton to help him and saying he wasn't dead, just unconscious. Mick starts pulling himself out of the dirt and attacking Anton. Then a headless Penub also gets out and knocks Anton out with a shovel. Headless Penub's body is played by Rourke Loetti. And also, his head's still just played by, the same guy. So we'll move on now. Where did I leave off? Oh, here we go. Anton wakes up the next morning in his bed, thinking it was just an intense dream. He heads downstairs to see Mick on the couch and goes over to tell him about the dream, before seeing zombie Mick and Penub's head on the couch.
Yeah.
Penub apologizes for hitting him with a shovel. Anton says, "You're dead." Mick says, "Easy, Tiger. Undead, actually." Anton says, "You said you were just unconscious. You lied to me." Mick retorts, Hey, you killed me, alright? Try and keep this thing in perspective. Yeah, I was a little bitter about the whole getting killed by my best friend thing, but I've had time to get over it. Anton asks, so why are you here? Penub replies, we need a place to kick it. Don't be selfish. No one else's parents are dead. Anton says, no, not why. Why are you here? I mean, what are you guys, like, flesh-eating zombies back from hell, ready to exact revenge? Is that it? Mick laughs and Penub says, why would we go to hell? Mick says, duh. Penub continues, we're not bad. I mean, it's not like we're good or anything, but at least we don't go around killing people. Anton says, hey, I didn't kill anybody on purpose, okay? Mick says, yeah, well, we weren't in hell. I mean, there was this big, bright white light at the end of a long tunnel, right? And there were all these chicks, voices, and that music. Anton says, music? Penub says, kind of uncool music, like Enya. And these chicks' voices, they were saying, come to us, come towards the light. And he does his Bob Dylan impression there. Anton asks, so what happened? Mick says, oh, we figured obscenity it. I mean, it was really far.
Yeah.
Anton's hand grabs him by the hair. Penub says, Anton, I've got to ask, what's with the hand? Anton, after pulling his hand off his hair, says, it doesn't obey me at all. So the only thing I can come up with is, it's got to be possessed. Do you guys know anything about Satan or evil or... Mick says, no. But we know somebody who does.
Yeah.
And we hear Shout at the Devil playing as we cut to Randy trying to pick up Tanya at the memorial for the Feldston twins outside the Burger Jungle. Tanya is played by Katie Wright, who, fun fact, is actually Randy actor Jack Noseworthy's half-sister. I mean, like, nothing actually happens, but it is still a little weird that they had him, even kind of try to hit on his half-sister.
That is a little...
Like, he doesn't even go, like, that far. Like, he doesn't even, like, it's nothing that creepy, but it's still, like, just a situation where you went, like, wait, what? When I found that out, I was like, huh, okay. It's a little weird.
Sus.
Yeah. Once again, impressionable youth. I'm just kidding. Don't hit on your half-sister. That's it. I'm just moving on. Anton shows up with his hand, freaking out, asking Randy for help, ruining Randy's chances with his sister, with Tanya. Sorry, my bad. So Randy is pissed and gets in his truck and drives off, running over the memorial before going into the drive-thru lane. Anton steals one of the Feldstein twins' shirts and hats from the memorial and heads into Burger Jungle, pretending to work there. The uniform is like a safari uniform, is what the Burger Jungle has. Yeah, once he's...
You've never seen Tarzan, think of Jane's dad.
Yeah, that's fair. We get some Final Destination-esque shots as he sees all the dangerous stuff in the back of the fast food restaurant. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, this came out first, so actually... all of the Final Destination family
get some idle hands shots.
Yeah. But, I feel like Final Destination is a little more known for the, ooh, look at the dangerous stuff shots.
Yeah. But
technically, this did do it first.
Yeah. Final Destination just made it famous.
Yeah. He takes over the drive-thru window from the server. The server is played by Blink-182 frontman and hardcore Alien believer Tom DeLonge.
Huh.
Yeah, he's just in a quick cameo.
I mean, just put the head man of Blink-182 in the movie.
And hardcore Alien believer. Don't forget to bring up that he loves aliens.
Yeah.
It's in his writer, okay?
Well, they do also have the Offspring in this movie.
Yeah, I know. I was going to bring them up when we got to them in the movie, Chris.
It's crazy to me. Yeah. I don't know. It just felt relevant.
But it's not time for that yet, Chris.
But we'll get to that later.
Yeah. I actually have a fun fact about that scene, okay?
Oh.
I actually completely forgot about the fun fact until you brought it up here, and I was like, oh yeah, I actually have a fun fact. But I didn't write it down. I just know it. I heard it in a video, but didn't even think to write it down but I remember it now. So hopefully I'll remember it when we get to that scene.
Oh, don't worry.
Anton tells Randy over the intercom, tell me everything you know about the devil. Randy replies, Anton? Are you out of your obscenity-ing mind?
Yeah.
Anton, while struggling to keep his hand under control, sticking in like raw meat, ends up throwing a knife over a guy's head who ducks just in time without even realizing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's trying to keep his hand under control. I didn't really even write that down in my notes, but I thought I'll just bring up some of the things that happened. I just kind of was just going into what was important in the scene, but yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, Anton says, you listen to that satanic music all the time. You must have picked up something on the guy. Randy replies, look, it's just music. Then says a line with a homophobic slur in it when talking about famous composers.
Yeah.
And we have now gotten to what I would describe as the second flaw of this movie. It only comes up a few times, but it's that classic late 90s, early 2000s comedy, casual homophobia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, quote-unquote comedy. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's just the comedy. I'm not saying that it's funny, but I'm saying that happened in 90s and 2000s comedies.
Yeah, right. No, I understand.
Yeah. Yeah. So, he continues, it's just like their music, only louder. Anton says, you gotta know something, I'm desperate. He then throws food at a customer before Randy drives up to the window. Anton says, it's my hand. It's like it's got a mind of its own. It makes me do things I don't want to do. Randy says, oh yeah, man. I used to be like that. Get into all kinds of stupid poop. Look, the trick is to keep yourself busy. That's why I'm always working on the forward. Keeps me out of trouble. Idle hands are the devil's playground. And the movie ends, because that's the line. They said the name.
You said the name of the movie,
we'll
guy.
We'll go home now.
All right, well, see you next week.
Anton says, keep my hands busy? Yeah, actually, that makes sense. Thanks, Randy. You're the coolest. We come back to Anton's house, where he's knitting while him, Mick, and Penub watch the music video for Dragula by Rob Zombie. I considered going through the laundry list of Horror Boy alums and Rob Zombie's Halloween films, but I decided against it.
Not worth it.
But technically he's in this movie, so technically I should have, but I'm not gonna.
No. I disagree.
Mick and Penub make fun of Anton for knitting, including another homophobic slur.
Yeah.
Yay, late 90s to 2000 comedies for all being sullied by intolerance. That's what I wrote in my notes. Anton says, Randy broke it down for me. Idle hands are the devil's playpen. Actually, he said playground. So I'm thinking, keep my hands occupied, right? Mick says, no, man. That saying it's not literal. It's more like Penub chimes in, metaphorical. Mick says, right. We cut to outside where officers Mick Macy and Ruck are arriving at the house due to a noise complaint. They see Anton sitting between two dead bodies and break down the door. Anton says, guys, what do I do? Penub starts to respond. I think you Mick Macy freaks out at the, zombies and shoots Penub in the head. Penub continues, I was gonna say I think you should do what the officers tell you, but now I think I'm changing my mind. Mick says, yeah, man, you should kill him. The officers continue to freak out. Anton continues to knit, saying, look, guys, I don't want to kill anybody else. Mick says, hey, you don't want to go to jail, though. Anton says, jail. That's it. That's exactly it. They'll throw me in one of those rubber rooms. I won't be able to hurt anybody else. Cuff me. But they won't cuff him until he puts down the knitting needles. The ensuing argument is enough to distract Anton from knitting, so his hand stabs Rook through one ear and out the other with the knitting needle. It then takes Rook's taser and shoots McMacy in the face, electrocuting him to death. Yeah, that's the thing. Well, he killed him.
And two pretty cool kills.
Yeah, not like crazy cool, but decent. Yeah, they were fun. Yeah, fun. A little unrealistic. I don't believe a taser has enough electric power to kill someone. That's kind of why they're able to use it.
Somebody's face.
Yeah, they would kind of be, considered not something you could use as a non-lethal weapon, which is what it is. But whatever, Maybe, but you don't normally shoot people in the face, so maybe that's what it was. Yeah. Or he had a lot of cologne on his. He had a lot of cologne on his cheeks, and that lit when he got hit by electricity.
Yeah, maybe he's got steel plates.
He actually served in NAM.
The ripe young age of
7, maybe, if even that.
-2.
-5.
Yeah.
I don't know how old Sean Whalen is.
Yeah, I don't either.
But yeah, so they're dead now. The boys cheer for him, but Anton says, "Stop! I didn't do it. Okay, it was my hand again. It's like the knitting didn't help at all." And I would actually argue it did seem to be helping. It was when he stopped knitting because of the argument on accident.
Yeah.
But, I think you should keep knitting. Knitting's a good hobby. Mick says, "Well, yeah, man. I told you that saying is more like metaphorical." Anton closes the curtains in the front door and yells at his hand, "I can't keep doing this. I'm losing my mind." He then reacts to an idea he got. He heads to the kitchen, followed by Mick and Penelope. Excuse me. Also, I didn't write it down in my notes, but I do think it was a funny little moment, so I'll mention it here because I feel like we're going through this quick enough that I can mention it. When Penelope comes in with his head, he puts it down, but then when he sees what's about to happen, he turns it away. I thought that was a funny little moment. I think it happens a little bit later in the scene, but I didn't write down when it happens, so I'll just mention it here.
There's somewhere in these scenes that it's the weird, not so great looking digital effects of where they for whatever reason, you have to digitally put in the eyes on the head and have them move around, and it looks interesting.
See, I missed it, so
Yeah.
I'm not going to count that as a flaw because I didn't see it. Oh, and Chris has frozen.
Oh, good.
Oh, but he's back immediately. Okay, that was quick enough that I don't have to freak out. Ooh. But you did freeze for a second as you said that. We're all good now. We'll keep moving. I gotta get through this quick before Discord crashes.
Movie happens.
The movie ends. Throw my notes over my head. But yeah. So Anton puts his hand in the bagel slicer and Mick says, "No way." Anton says, "It's the only thing I can think of." Mick says, "Well, wait. Once that hand is gone, how are you going to cut off the other one?" Anton replies, "Oh, the left one's a keeper. I mean, I guess it wasn't idle enough." Mick asks, "Are you sure?" Anton explains, "Yeah, I mean, I use it for a lot of things, I light up, I change the remote, I relieve a little tension." This is the answer. I know it. Penelope says, "Those things won't even cut my bagel." Anton screams and pushes down, but it doesn't cut through him.
Yeah, that actually somehow crunches up the little blade on.
Well, I mean, that's a little unrealistic, but it wouldn't probably actually cut through him. It probably would just, lightly cut him, because those things don't cut very well.
No, they don't.
Anton says, "Mick, grab the electric carver." Mick goes over and grabs it. He revs it and says, "Oh, look at me! Look at me! I'm Leatherface!"
Leatherface!
And one of my favorite lines of all time. And he walks forward, pulling it out of the socket. A line that I think I've talked about before, but now that we're specifically talking about the movie it's in, I will mention again that I had saw a clip of this scene in the kill count for this movie, which I watched before I think I had saw any Texas Chainsaw Massacre film. Maybe I had seen the first one once earlier in that year, but when we covered the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise, every time the name Leatherface came up, this went through my head every time. "Look at me, I'm Leatherface!" That's what I think of when I think of Leatherface. I don't think of, Gunnar Hansen's amazing portrayal. I think of
Seth Green with a turkey carver.
Yeah, "Look at me, I'm Leatherface!" It's great. I love it. It's my favorite line. In an older era of the podcast, this line alone would probably have got him an immediate national treasure, but that's not how it works anymore, so...
Yeah,
sorry, Seth Green, you missed the cutoff for arbitrarily just throwing that around.
Yeah. Times have changed.
But realistically, you probably deserve it if Matthew Lillard deserved it. But hey, maybe I'll bring up Seth Green at the end of year awards.
Maybe.
Probably not. No offense to Seth Green. This is a great one line, but it's a one line. He's also good in general, but this is the only line that stands out and puts him above the rest.
Yeah.
Anton grabs a cleaver, but his hand won't stay still for him to chop it off, so he makes Penub bite down on it to hold it in place. He cuts off his hand and screams in pain. Penub says, "You scream like a girl." Because now we're just going to throw in some casual sexism, too.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair,
nice.
Slightly more acceptable in 2023. Still bad, but slightly more acceptable.
It is the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mick grabs the iron and cauterizes the wound, saying, "I gotta stop the blood flow. Don't you ever watch ER?" Punub says, "Look at that nasty thing. That's gonna be infected for sure." Mick, while wrapping up the wound, asks, "You got any antiseptic, Anton?" Anton says, "I don't know." Mick says, "Well, Penub's got some in a first aid kit in his house." Penub says, "Ooh, and burritos." Mick says, "You'll be okay, buddy." Penub says, "We'll be back in a sec to fix you up, Anton." Mick and Penub leave. Anton falls to the floor and hears some rustling. He looks over and sees written in blood, "Bad move, Anton."
Oh.
He looks around for the hand, but the doorbell rings, and it's Molly, dressed in an angel, for the Halloween dance. He tells her to wait outside. Blood drips from the ceiling, and the hand drops down on him. The hand is played by Christopher Hart, who plays Thing in the live-action 90s Addams Family movies, and played The Hand in Season 1, Episode 4, I Fall to Pieces of Angel, where Angel tries to stop a guy who can detach his body parts from stalking a woman.
Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, this guy's like a magician who does a lot of sleight of hand, and then also does a decent amount of hand acting. If you need hand acting, apparently you go to him. At least in the 90s.
Yeah. Can't believe they didn't bring him back for the
Wednesday?
2022 Wednesday.
Yeah, he's not in that from my knowledge.
Preface that with 2022, I guess.
I think you didn't, because
just Wednesday.
If you just called it Wednesday, you're fine, because there was never a TV show called Wednesday before Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah.
He struggles with his hand, continuing to tell Molly to stay outside. He wins the struggle and gets the hand in the microwave and cooks the hand, causing it to bubble and squirt out a bunch of blood in a fun little effect.
Yeah. Not sure if that's how the hand would actually react.
Who cares?
I've never put a person in a microwave before, so I don't know.
Who cares? It was fun.
It was.
This movie doesn't care about accurate physics. They've shown that other times in this movie where there's things where that's not how it happens.
True.
Molly is about to come in when Anton runs to the door and heads outside with her. He tells her she looks incredible. She replies, "Thanks, but you should have called. If you need more time with your costume, fine. But I hate waiting. So what are you supposed to be anyway?" She says that last part a little bit nicer. I don't know why I give it such a mean tone. I'm sorry. He replies, "I'm a fast food employee that cut off his own hand." Because he's still wearing the fast food jacket, like the shirt.
Yeah, the burger.
I didn't even realize he was wearing it until he said that line. I was like, oh yeah, he is still wearing that. He pulls her away from the house when he sees Penub and Mick are coming back. Penub and Mick go inside and don't really care that Anton's not there. Mick is tired of Penub's head being on the counter, I guess, so he uses a barbecue fork to reattach Penub's head. Like, I don't really see, like, it didn't really feel like anything new happened there, but he went like, I'm tired of this, and, like, fixed him. I don't know.
He got tired of it. It was probably more of the digital effects people.
They're like, we already spent our digital effects budget, guys. We gotta get his head back on the body.
Pop it on there, and let's just use some more makeup.
Yeah. They go over to the microwave to cook the burritos. They're grossed out by the mess, but Mick has no intention of cleaning it and opens the microwave. The hand pops out and flies out the window. They, barely even bat an eye and just start cooking the burritos.
It's true. Also, how does his hand fly out of the microwave
the devil.
And out of the window?
The devil.
But it, crawls around everything. Yeah.
But also, how is his hand strong enough to pull his body places? It's the same level of force, I guess. It's pulling his body to the other side of the room when it was attached to him. Also, it's magic, so the answer is however they want it to, Chris.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. That was a silly question.
Yeah. The burritos are actually not a real brand, but instead are Baffa's brand, named after the director of photography.
No.
It looks like they actually because I copied a different brand, but changed the name on it. So, when I noticed that when I was looking, I was like, oh, Baffa, that's the name of the guy, which I only, because I do pre-notes before I, do notes, I noticed that small detail that was just, something small that they put in for, just Baffa. For fun. Yeah. We cut to Anton and Molly. Anton says, look, I can't go to the dance yet, okay? I'm sorry. My, parents will, they're going to be home in a few minutes, and if they see the mess I made doing my costume, they'll kill me. Look, I won't be too long, and I'll meet you there. Molly asks, is something wrong? Excuse me. Anton says, look, you need to go there. Go now. And you can't stop for anything till you're inside with everyone else, okay? Which, she just asked if there's anything wrong, and then he, freaked out more. But, she doesn't care anymore. She says, you wouldn't stand me up, would you? Because, as we've established before, Molly only cares about being in a relationship with him, even though there's no reason for her to have ever felt that way.
Nope. None whatsoever.
Don't get me wrong, Devon Sawa was a cute enough guy, but, I feel like she's throwing herself a little too hard at him.
I will say that his haircut is much more flattering to him in this movie than in Final Destination.
It's fair. Anton replies, not a chance, baby snakes.
It's back. It's your favorite nickname, guys.
It's just why? It's so random.
Baby snakes.
Here it kind of makes sense because, he's calling back to the random time she said it, but why did she say it?
Yeah.
They kiss, and she heads off to the party, and he heads back home. Back at Anton's, Penub is eating the first burrito, and when he swallows, a dark goo oozes from his neck. Mick fixes it by covering the separation with duct tape.
Gotta get a nice firm seal.
Yeah.
Now, if they had Flex Seal, they'd never have to worry.
That's true, because later in the movie, he talks about his head being loose. If it was Flex Seal, it wouldn't have been. Yeah. You could go on a boat with a hole if it has Flex Seal over it.
That's what I've heard.
I've seen the commercials. And there's no way you could ever fake something in a commercial.
Nah. Definitely not with editing or anything like that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not just throwing Flex Steel over a different not broken boat. Nah, that's definitely not how it could have been done at all.
No.
Chris, I said I wasn't gonna do it anymore, which means you can't do it either. That's 3 in this episode.
Sorry.
Oh, also, just because I was thinking of that bit, it's completely unrelated, but I just want to acknowledge that our one audience member that I know personally did get back to me, and The Sixth Sense is a classic. I stand corrected. That's 2-1. I didn't think it would deserve classic status, but, it does seem like that is the answer. So, credit to my boy M. Night. You did it. You made a classic.
Look at you.
And you also made some other movies.
Yeah. Hey, some of them are
okay,
decent.
Yeah.
But on the whole,
Split's pretty good.
Very good.
What's the first 80 to 90% of The Village is fun.
Yeah.
The first spoiler for that movie. Sorry, spoiler for The Village. The first twist. I won't even say what it is, but the first twist, decent twist. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm okay with this. The second twist, you're like, what the heck, M. Night?
Why did you
put that? You don't have to twist just to twist.
Ah, you thought that was the twist, but this was the real twist.
Yeah.
And you go, huh?
And I'd feel really bad about even saying that there's a twist in the movie, because that kind of ruins movies. But it's an M. Night Shyamalan movie, so guess what?
Yeah,
all of them have
there's
twists.
always a twist.
That's his thing. I can't wait for him to make a movie where the twist is there is no twist.
Yeah, that'll be the biggest twist of all.
Yeah, whoa! Maybe that's what
plays straight all the way through.
Maybe that's what The Cabin or whatever it's called. Knock at the Cabin. Maybe that's the twist for that movie. The one starring Bautista.
Yeah, honestly, it might be.
Maybe I haven't heard anything about that movie, so I don't know if it's good, bad, or in between. It sounds like it's not terrible because I didn't hear people just complain about it.
Pooping on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also didn't hear people raving about it, so it's probably in between. Yeah. But that's the end of M. Night talk for this week. So let's get back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Yeah. Finish the Idle Hands podcast.
Oh, yeah. We do have M. Night on the schedule, but it's not for like 5 or 6 years. We have an M. Night arc, though. You big M. Night heads, don't worry. We'll cover M. Night. So Anton comes in. He's pissed that they let the hand out. Fair. Mick says, well, we brought you a first aid kit. Anton says, where did it go? Penub asks, what? Do you mean the hand? Anton replies, of course I mean the hand. Penub replies, try looking up your butt. We cut to a shot of the hand crawling down the road.
And not up Anton's butt, which would have been hilarious.
I don't think it would have. Before cutting to the bowling alley, where Randy hits on Debbie, who's there looking for the hand. She lets him bowl with her. He reminds his friends Curtis and Tiffany they have a dance to go to. Curtis is played by Steve Van Warmer, who mostly has done video game voiceover work, but was in Jingle All the Way, Johnny Tsunami, and Bubble Boy, alongside Horror Boy alums Vern Troyer of Wishmaster, Dave Sheridan of Victor Crowley, Steven Spinella of Rubber, and Marley Shelton of Scream 4 and 5.
Ooh. I feel like at this point we're also going to have Jingle All the Way as a...
It's possible.
April Fool's.
Maybe. Well, that'll be a Christmas episode.
Yeah. April Fool's on Christmas.
I mean, you could edit that movie around where it's a horror movie.
Yeah, I'm sure you could.
I mean, Sinbad is kind of a psychopath. If you edited that movie differently, you could turn that into a horror movie. Or at least a thriller. Yeah. But yeah. Then also we have Tiffany, who is played by Kelly Monaco of over 2,000 episodes of General Hospital. Gotta love when you get that opportunity as an actor to be in a soap opera. You will have work for the next 10 years of your life minimum.
Yeah.
And you know what? Good for them.
Truly.
She was also in Basketball alongside Horror Boy alum and vaccine-denying, false information spreading piece of garbage, Jenny McCarthy Wahlberg of Scream 3.
Yeah.
I think I got her name right, you know. Randy asks Debbie what brings her to Bolin, and she tells him the truth, letting us know some of the evil lore of the demon that possessed Anton. I didn't write down any of it, but it's lore.
The lore is that it possesses the laziest person.
Yeah, and that her priestesses look like her go after it. Mm-hmm. That's basically it.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
Randy replies, weird. Hey, earlier today, this guy Anton, he told me that his hand was doing stuff that he didn't want it to do. She grabs him by the shirt and says, don't you obscenity with me, mister. And Randy says, ease up there, kitten. I'm telling you the truth. This guy was freaked. She tells him, show me where he lives. We stick with them as they start to drive to Anton's in her Airstream van. We cut to Anton looking for the hand when he sees a message in blood. She's mine. Inside the house, Mick and Penub are watching Dawn of the Dead. Anton runs in and gets them to go with him to the dance because the hand's after Molly. Penub is down because he thinks he'll win the costume contest and impress some chicks. Mick wants Anton to stop stressing out and have some Anton time and smoke some weed. But Anton says, "No, not this time, okay? I'm through with that. All I do is I sit around all day. I veg out, I watch TV, I smoke pot." Mick interrupts him. No Kevin Costner speeches, all right? Let's just go. Then they leave. Just as Debbie and Randy show up. They steal Randy's truck and back into Debbie without realizing what they hit. They drive off.
Causes her to go flying.
Yeah. Well, they had to make her go flying so they didn't actually run her over. Because they didn't want their characters to kill her.
They would have.
Yeah. They drive off with Mick having to shift for Anton because the truck is manual and Anton has no right hand.
Yeah.
Randy, being a little creepy about it, gives Debbie mouth-to-mouth to help her regain consciousness. It does work. So, he did do the right thing, apparently. But he is creepy about it. Yeah. He does, look around like he's about to, I get to, forcibly kiss this girl who seemed kind of into me earlier. Also, here's the thing. I'm not an expert on kissing, but I don't believe kissing is blowing into someone's mouth, which is what he does here to help her.
Sweet, I get to blow into a girl's mouth.
That's my dream, man.
Yeah.
Anton wants a girl to bring him food and poop. I want to blow in a girl's mouth. After she insults his breath, they follow after Anton and friends. We cut to Curtis and Tiffany making out in their kiss costumes. Tiffany has Curtis open the window because it's hot, and they continue going at it with her taking her top off. Because we have to have nudity! Woo! Boobies! The hand comes in and gropes her before... Because, once again, classic horror movie. We gotta have... Yeah.
And then it kills her.
Yeah, then it kills her by crushing her throat. And kills Curtis by smashing his head into the window.
Mm-hmm. And then blood splurts all over the place.
It's extra blood for no reason. Who cares? It's blood. Blood's fun.
Very, very silly, very goofy.
Very, Hatchet.
Yeah.
Bucket of blood.
And just throw it at the window. I don't
know. Anton, Mick, and Penub arrive and find the dead bodies. Anton goes looking for the hand while Mick and Penub head into the dance with the instructions to find and protect Molly. The band playing at the dance is The Offspring. This is when we're supposed to bring it up, Chris.
The Offspring, woo! And they're singing I Want to Be Sedated, which was a song originally written by the Ramones.
That's right. And do you know why?
No.
Because the director really wanted to get the Ramones, but when they wouldn't do it, he got The Offspring instead and got them to do a cover of the Ramones.
Yeah. Fair. I mean, I feel like The Offspring fits the vibe of this movie anyways better than the Ramones do.
That's fair. They didn't play Come Out and Play, which is the only Offspring song I personally care about, so... Molly is dancing with Tanya. Tanya leaves her to go get some punch and runs into Penub and Mick and loves their makeup and asks who did it. Mick replies, I guess Anton did. Get it? Because he killed them?
Because he murdered them.
Yeah. Penub adds on, based on my design, though, to try and impress her. It works, and Tanya asks him to dance with her. Mick tries to tell him that they can't, but Penub insists that he can look for Molly while he dances. So they dance with Penub holding his head on, which I thought was a little fun little moment where he's holding his head on so it doesn't come off while he dances.
Yeah.
Duct
tape can only work so good.
Sorry? Huh?
So duct tape can only work so well.
If only they had Flexi. This episode is sponsored by nothing.
Or another great product like Flex Shot.
Oh.
Spray it on there.
Whoa. We cut to Anton searching for the hand. I also like just sometimes to, tell you the random things that apparently I mistyped. And it actually doesn't say searching. It says SAWA-rc.
Yeah, that's my favorite word, actually. Yeah.
We cut to Anton SAWA-rc for the hand.
And then he gets jumped.
No.
No, that's later.
Yeah, we cut away. We head to the principal's office where he's on a phone harmonica hotline. The hand sneaks in and goes up his pants, popping out of the crotch, and we cut away, hearing the principal scream. The principal is played by Timothy Stack of Castaway, Scary Movie 3, the Brave Little Toaster franchise, and My Name is Earl, where he played himself. I mean, he's like, it's definitely like, I don't think it's actually like the way he would act, but like, it's kind of like how, Adam West plays himself in a lot of things, but I don't actually think that the way he acts in those things is who Adam West really is.
What if it was?
Or who Adam West was.
TV's Adam West.
TV's Adam West.
Or Catman.
He actually is literally a TV's Tim Stack in My Name is Earl. But yeah. Go watch My Name is Earl, everyone. I like My Name is Earl. And then when you're done with My Name is Earl, watch Raising Hope. Another really good show made by the same creator with a lot of callbacks to My Name is Earl in it.
I haven't seen My Name is Earl, so I actually wouldn't know.
Well, don't worry, because next week we're bringing back sitcom...
No!
Wait, I'm getting word that I barely get this podcast done in time, so we will not be doing that. Well, hey, we enjoyed sit commentary. It was just... Yeah, just too much work right now.
A lot.
Tim Stack. Anton follows the scream to the principal's bloody corpse. We then cut to Debbie and Randy arriving at the school. We then cut to the hand using a pencil sharpener to sharpen his nails into spikes. That's the scene. Cut away. No, we're done. We're done there. It's a cool visual. I mean, to have like this weird... The hand now has spikes on its fingers. I enjoyed it. It's cool enough.
Yeah. It's an extra murder hand now.
Yeah. Anton runs into Debbie, who tries to stab him with a knife that will kill the demon. Randy runs up. Anton and Debbie continue to fight for a bit. Anton bites her hand to get free. Randy grabs him, stopping him from running away. Anton explains to Debbie that he's no longer the host of evil, and shows her he cut off his hand. He tells them that it's after his girlfriend and it's out for blood. Debbie says, that ain't all it's out for. If your girl's the one it's after, then at midnight, it's taking her to hell. Bum, bum, bum. Anton looks at the clock and says, it's not even 9 yet. We got time. Debbie pulls out a pocket watch and says, no, it's actually 6 minutes till midnight. Druid time. I don't know, it's stupid. It's so stupid, but I really enjoyed that.
Yeah. Super silly.
Yeah, we cut to inside the dance where Penub is making out with Tanya. Mick is disgusted by this and tries to explain to Penub why it's a bad thing to do, technically illegal.
It's illegal.
But Penub keeps making out with Tanya anyway. Which, to be fair, it's not illegal for Penub.
Yeah,
it's illegal for Tanya. Anton runs onto stage and takes the mic from the lead singer, Dexter Holland. Anton says, everybody go home. There's a psycho killer here. Everyone boos him as the hand locks the door out and also breaks the lock so it can't be opened.
Bum, bum.
Anton continues, I cut off my hand. It's going to kill you all. Everyone starts throwing trash at him. Mick tells the girl next to him, it's true. His hand killed us yesterday. Penub says, yeah, slice me up real good. Tanya laughs, thinking it's a joke.
Yeah.
Anton says, sorry?
I said, yeah, it's not.
No, it's not. It really did kill them.
Literally killed them.
Literally, they're dead now. Anton says, Molly, you out there? And that's the end of that voice, guys. Dexter Holland says, get out of here, kid. You had your fun. Now it's time. But he's interrupted by the hand falling on his head and ripping off his scalp.
Yeah.
Oh, they just killed Dexter Holland, the lead singer of The Offspring.
No more Offspring concerts, guys. Sorry.
If only Anton could have kept them separated from the hand. Chaos ensues as everyone freaks out. The hand drops a lighting rig on some kids. Honestly, it looks like they'd be fine, but maybe they're dead. I don't know. It looks like it really kind of landed really softly on them. This movie has some decent stunts and effects. This one, I watched and was like, that looks like the safest drop I've ever seen.
Oops.
Tanya convinces Molly to escape with her through the air vent. We cut to Mick and Penub sitting at the table. Penub says, I was gonna get some. Mick says, I really doubt it. We see the hand enter the vent Molly and Tanya went in. The girls end up at a giant fan. Molly uses Tanya's heel to stop it and kicks out the grating under it. She then uses a rope on Tanya's devil costume. Like it's a whip, maybe, I guess? I don't know what it's supposed to be.
It's a whip, but it does, in the scene, as she's climbing down the whip, turn into a rope.
Oh, okay.
With, like, segmented knots tied in. Because I guess they had to do that for the stunt of her climbing down the whip.
I guess. As well as just... I don't think you can bring a 12-foot whip to your school dance.
You can't.
Oh, my bad. I stand corrected. So yeah, she ties the rope up there, the whip, and she uses it to rappel down. Then we cut to a shot of Penub and Mick going through the vent. Penub doesn't want to have any responsibility in helping Anton until he hears Tanya in trouble and wants to save her. And then Mick gets stuck in the vent for like half a second, and like they laugh it off, which makes me wonder if that was actually like an accident that happened and they kept it in because they thought it was funny, because it really just feels like it did literally nothing, but maybe they liked it in the moment when it accidentally happened. Because if that was written in, why?
Yeah.
But if it happened in the moment and they just kept it, yeah, fair enough. Back to the girls. Tanya is too scared to go down the rope. The hand then wraps the rope around her neck and pushes her down. It then moves the shoe so the rope gets tangled up and she gets pulled up into the fan, being ground to death instead of, being hung like you thought. It's like a subversion. Ooh.
A bloody pulp.
Yeah. Molly runs away and goes into the art room to hide, but when she walks in, is immediately knocked out by the hand dropping pottery on her head. I'll bring up here that the reason that this feels so abrupt is because they initially shot this movie. This didn't happen. The whole ending after this point is a reshot ending because the original ending was like a lot darker and less silly fun, and they didn't feel like it fit the tone of the movie when they actually did it. So they reshot it into what it is here, which I have some slight issues with the ending that we'll get to when they happen. But like overall, I do think that it does fit this movie, so it makes sense. I'm okay with it. But yeah, so she gets that dropped in her head. Quick shot of Penub and Mick finding Tanya's remains. Then we cut to Anton, who is going into the art room. The hand controls a puppet behind him, and he tackles the puppet stage. But the hand moved into a different puppet, which then knocks Anton to the ground. They struggle for a bit before Anton throws the puppet off and is about to hit it with an ashtray, but then Penub and Mick accidentally knock Anton down with a grate before jumping down themselves. They help him up, but the hand has gotten away. Darn.
Yet again.
Yep. They then head to the auto shop where Molly is tied up because they hear her scream. So they go in there. She's on the top of a car that is being raised to the ceiling by the hand, whose puppet can now change its face to express emotions.
Yeah, it's very silly.
Yeah, it's so silly. Like, almost, I'd say maybe a step too silly. It's like, wait, what? The magic hand this puppet now has magic powers because he's wearing it?
No, it's a magic hand, Austin.
Okay. You know what? You're right. Magic is the answer to everything.
It flew out of a window.
You know, you're not wrong.
From a microwave.
I still feel like that's honestly fits more with the lore of this movie than this puppet having different faces for the sake of the scene it's in.
Magic demon puppet, Austin.
But the puppet isn't demonic, Chris. But we'll move on.
Magic demon hand.
Trying to help her get free, Anton accidentally rips off part of her dress, leaving her in just a bikini, which I will mention again, is creepy because she's 17. Why did we have to add more?
Really questionable choice.
And here's the thing. I was thinking, when the movie came out, I believe she was actually 18. So let me go see when the movie came out. It was like a couple days after her, birthday. So even when these reshoots, she was definitely still 17.
Yeah.
Anton, Penub, and Mick try to fight the hand off the controls, but it's too strong. Mick goes over and grabs a bong made out of car parts that Penub claims to have made. I think he calls it Mighty Joe Bong.
Yeah.
At first, Anton is mad before taking a huge hit on the bong and blowing the smoke into the puppet, causing the hand to get high and the puppet to get high because its eyes roll back into being bloodshot. The puppet.
Yeah.
And then it falls. It got so high it stops it from going up. So it's no longer going to crush Molly. Right as it's like the last possible second. She is almost crushed.
Yeah. Nose touching the ceiling.
Yeah. But then the hand's not done though, because this is a horror movie, and when you think the killer's done, it's not. So the hand lunges at Anton one last time, but Debbie runs in and throws the knife at it midair, pinning it to Mick. It then disappears in an anticlimactic way that Mick actually calls out for being anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Which is a fun little moment.
It is.
Yeah. Here it was. Debbie and Randy leave to go play harmonica. Anton helps Molly down and they make out under the car. Which I also, real quick, go back here. I will say, Debbie and Randy actually had a slightly more actually developed relationship than Anton and Molly.
Yeah. They did go on a demon hand hunting adventure.
They also had a date, a minor date before that where she agreed to okay, fine. She wasn't oh, I'm totally into you immediately. She's yeah, fine, you can bowl with me.
Yeah.
And then they bonded over a beer before then going on an adventure together. There's a reason for them to have developed feelings for each other. And maybe even you could say after Molly being saved, she could have developed feelings for Anton. But she had feelings the second she saw him for some reason. And don't get me wrong, once again, I get it. It's Devon Sawa. Have you seen the shirtless scene in Chucky? I get it. But
well, he did give her
that's true. He did return a book to her that he had invaded her privacy by reading.
Yeah, you understand.
And then he did technically, if we're being honest, harass her by... Actually, no, he made physical contact, so he assaulted her without... Yeah, so, that's cool. He's the hero of the movie, guys. So yeah, they're making out under a car. Mick goes to get a hit on the bong because he didn't get one earlier, but he accidentally bumps Penub with the bong, which sends him back into the controls, causing the car to fall on Anton, crushing him. Molly screams his name.
Dead.
Yeah. Huh. Well, maybe. I mean, he looks dead. He just got crushed. Penub and Mick start to walk off to go to heaven, and Mick looks back and says, "Coming, Anton?" And we fade to white. And back out to a hospital, revealing that Anton is alive in a hospital in a full-body cast, being fed pudding by Molly.
Wow.
Molly says, "I can't even believe it. You blew off heaven to kick it with me. You are the coolest." Anton replies, "Are you kidding me? You taking care of me sure beats the poop out of heaven." They kiss. A nurse comes in to give Anton his meds. The nurse is played by Donna Scott of The Uninvited, Water for Elephants, and Austin Powers International Man of Mystery alongside Seth Green. He then sees angel versions of Penub and Mick and says, "Guys, you blew off heaven too?" Mick says, "No, we're your guardian angels." The nurse then says, "Poor thing, he's out of his mind with delirium. Visiting hours are over." Molly kisses Anton goodbye and leaves the room with the nurse. Mick says, "So the deal is we're supposed to monitor and make sure that you don't revert back to your evil ways." Sorry, I think Penub actually said that, because then I wrote Mick says again, which means one of these was Penub, and I just don't remember which one.
Yeah.
Because I messed up and wrote the wrong thing. I think actually maybe the second one's Penub, and I just wrote it wrong. but you seem fine now. Because then Mick says, no, Penub says this one. Gosh darn it, I don't know what happened here, guys. Penub says, let's hit the snack master in the hall. You want anything, Anton? Anton replies, yeah, give me some crunch nuggets. Those things are awesome. Mick and Penub leave, turning out the light on the way out at Anton's request. Anton looks up and screams when he sees the glowing message, I'm under the bed. Whoa, and the movie ends. No, just kidding, it doesn't. We cut to Mick and Penub in the hall. Mick says, hey, you're right. Anton screams like a girl. Penub says, think we should tell him we painted that on the ceiling? Mick says, obscenity it. Let's go walk through a nurse. And Penub says, watch it. Some of them are guys. To end the movie with one last poorly aged casual homophobia. This movie, if nothing else, is consistent.
Yeah.
So that's time for my final thoughts. I'll be honest. I did crap on some things that deserve to be crapped on in this movie.
Yeah.
But I do really enjoy this movie. This movie is fun. I enjoy stoner comedies. And I also enjoy horror movies, and this does just enough of both to make me happy. I enjoy it. Obviously, I've established it before. I'm sure those will be two of Chris's flaws he has with the movie as well. But yes, underage Jessica Alba being sexualized is wrong. The homophobia has not aged well. I understand that, yes, at the time it wasn't sadly as unacceptable as it is now. Like, people were marginalized back then far more. Like, it happened. But it sucks that it's there. It does somewhat sully this movie. And if that's something that completely ruins the movie for you, I can understand why. Personally, I can look past those two things and still enjoy this movie for what it is, which is, for the most part, a pretty fun time.
Yeah. I also enjoyed this movie. And I'm not going to hit on the flaws because Austin just talked about them. But, also found fault with the same things he did. Surprise. Yeah, it was crazy, you know? The year 2023, but...
Can you believe in the year 2023, two decent human beings had problems with bad things?
Yeah, crazy. But yeah, on the whole, because thankfully most of the movie was not that. It was a fun little romp. I had a good time watching it.
Cool.
And if you're into stoner comedies, this is probably worth checking out.
Yeah. And then, now we're done. I said now, I was like, but now I gotta tell you what's next. Because the Devon SAWA-rc, the thing I came up with, you all remember, is over now. It's over. So, what's next? What's next on the docket? Well, we're not starting a franchise quite yet. We got a little bit of time before we start our next franchise. Because it's time for the second ever Boys' Choice. Woo! For the next 3 weeks. For sure. Maybe a fourth week, and we'll figure that out when we get to it, because there is 4 weeks on the schedule. It's a whole different thing. But for the next 3 weeks, for sure, we will be calling it Boys' Choice. And yeah, and you might be thinking, well, there's two of us here. There's me, who I'm doing my Boys' Choice next week, so I can announce what the movie is in a second. I didn't talk to Chris before this, so I can't know what his movie is, so he'll be week number 2. But I said 3 weeks, didn't I, Chris?
You did. It's strange. Huh. Why would you say that?
It's almost like maybe that third week, our boy Isaiah is coming back to watch a movie with us of his choice. Woo! That's right, baby. But yeah, next week, Boys' Choice starts off, in my opinion, pretty strong, because it's a movie I've seen and really enjoyed. With my movie, my pick for Boys' Choice 2 is Mayhem. It's a fun, modern take on a zombie movie that I really enjoyed. And yeah, we're gonna...
one with Stephen Young in it, right?
Yes. As well as not Margot Robbie, the other one.
Right. Yeah.
I forgot her name. I feel terrible. She's a really good actress in the things we've seen her in. Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving, yeah.
Samara Weaving, she's great. Yes, they're the 2 stars.
Not Margot Robbie.
Not Margot Robbie.
but almost.
Yeah. It's also directed and I think written by Joe Lynch, who was in the Hatchet movies, because he's friends with Adam Green. So yeah, we'll be watching that next week. If you like this podcast, give it a 5-star review on any podcast app you use. We're on definitely the 3 major ones, but also some other ones like Podcast Addict. That's in our analytics, so apparently we're on that one. I don't even know what that is, but we're on it. Thanks, Spotify for podcasters for putting us on that. I mean, I'm down to be on whatever. I think we're on Podbean as well for the same, like, Spotify for podcasters put us on there. But whatever, I'm happy to be there. Leave us a 5-star review on whatever service you're on. Tell a friend about it. I haven't said that, normally say that, but yeah, hey, do it. It'd be cool. Because if every one of you tells 2 friends, and they tell 2 friends, I just started a pyramid scheme, and maybe me and Chris can make some money.
At the top of the pyramid, baby.
But yeah, also, if you want to see a video version of this podcast, you can head on over to youtube.com/@horrorboys, where every week we do upload the video version of this. At the same time, the audio version comes out. That's actually why the audio version comes out a little later than some podcasts, because I timed it with a good time for a YouTube video to come out. There's a little peek behind the curtain. And then, lastly, if you want to support us directly, you want to be, top tier of the pyramid scheme with us, you can head on over to patreon.com/horrorboys, where you can just give us money. And I guess we'll give you some stuff in return. But mostly just give us money, please.
And I guess we'll make more content.
Yeah, but mostly the money. Please give us money. But yeah, this podcast has been longer than the movie was, which, that's some classic Horror Boys stuff right there. So we will see you next week. I've been Austin, joined by Chris. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.